Okay fellas, it's time for a update on OLDS Cool, and you can see I've been doing a little wiring, and all underneath the bottom. Well, let's get under the bottom. Everything under the bottom has been cleaned up, sanded down, scraped off, tidied up all the way up to that part of the firewall. All of this, well, everything back in here, the frame is POR 15, and then it has some semi-gloss black on it, and then the floor itself scraped down, primered, semi-gloss black. Same thing over here, POR, and then semi-gloss all the way up to here. Fuel lines back in there. It comes to this point, and it did have this rubber line right here to go back into here, but I'm going to take that out and use some compression fittings and put solid line right there. That's fuel pump power, and right there, there's one of those flex plate bolts that just tried to kill me. I eventually did get it out and dropped the flex plate, and I was doing it so I could replace that main seal. Not because it was leaking, because it wasn't. It's just because I was down here, and you may as well. But once that gave me so much trouble, I decided maybe I'll just stop right there instead of tempt something that I might screw up. And I certainly don't want to have to tear everything out just to go in there and hi Blake. So I stopped. It's good. We're going to carry on. Then after that was done, I started moving up to the wiring, and these are the vacuum lines. They're going to go, I'm going to reroute these. I'm going to take the vacuum ball and mount it upside down behind the bumper and underneath the battery tray so it's out of the way, and then I'll run the vacuum lines here, try to hide that as much as I can. And all of this wiring here, I know right now still looks like a mess, but if you go back and watch the previous videos, you'll know that's a lot better than it was. It took me an entire day just to unravel the bird's nest of wiring that was under here. And well, this is Friday, so essentially 5 days to reroute it, new wires, resolder some joints, new connections, and so forth. But once this has the wiring hangers up there on the firewall, and it's all covered in that black fabric and routed up behind and underneath over here, it will hide really well. It'll be difficult to see it. And I took the time to extend some of the wiring, like the fuel injectors I brought over here and down this side, so it'll pick up with water, oil, and so forth. So I'll have one small little loam right there and one small little loam right there instead of one great big chunk right there with wires going everywhere. And the only dropouts I have right there, that's one of them that'll go to IAC and TPI. That's the starter drop right there, and also EGR. And I haven't figured out yet if I'm going to keep EGR or not. I don't know if it's 100% absolutely necessary for the computer to see that to run right, but if I can drop it, I will. I'd rather it not be in there. And O2 comes out of there also, and O2 is going to come right across here and drop down here, pick up the wiring to the brake block and the oil pressure gauge, and it'll all drop out and cross right under there, so that'll be good and tidy. This is the cruise control loam, and of course that'll get all recovered and tidied up. Headlight wiring harness, and that'll come in here, and all of this down in here will be tidied up to make it look better than that. And the power power lines that are coming back over here, they'll be routed up under and into the hot block right there. And all of this, again, will be black and will be routed underneath here, and probably not around here, but probably underneath here, so that it all hides really well. I would just rather see as little bit of wiring as I can. And in fact, one of the things, I'm not exactly 100% convinced that I need this big heavy wire from the alternator back to the battery. I can probably make up a 8 gauge. That'll give me the chance to reroute this a different way and have it out of the way. Same thing with this battery ground right here. I'm probably going to bring that down and just ground it to the side of the block and out of the way there. And I'm still thinking about actually putting in 2 batteries here on this thing, because once I moved or got rid of the charcoal can and vacuum ball, it leaves me this whole space completely wide open here. And it's just big enough, it's more than big enough for another battery. And the idea of using this thing is kind of on long distance trips and maybe even a place to snooze, it might be nice to have an extra battery for stereo and so forth. Or it leaves a nice spot for a battery box that I could put extra fluid, couple of highway tools, that kind of thing. So I haven't decided on that 100% yet. This will come up through here and route. An ignition dropout will be right there, and then the other dropout down to this front harness will come right there. It'll be really tidy. So anything, next thing is to start tearing all this crap out. That serpentine bracketry, that's all coming out, so I can shiny that up and probably clear coat that. Eventually the engine's coming out, so it can get wire brushed and cleaned and repainted. And I'm just gonna take the whole front clip off. I've got new inners that aren't hacked up like that, or have 6,000 holes drilled in it like this. Of course, I've still got to put that fender on and repaint the back side of that and a few other things, so just to make it easier for engine and also for doing the front frame and suspension and all that. It'd be just easier just to have that front clip out of the way, I think. And of course, you've all seen the videos, you know it's all going to sit in my living room anyway. But get all that done, get it back together, and then have a good, clean, smooth running, reliable car that I can drive around parts chasing while I get started on my next phase, which will be either interior or body work, depending on how I feel after I get through this stage. But right now, it's Friday afternoon. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, put it all back together, go inside and bust open a watermelon and jump on that thing. Have a good one.